Right.
Expectations.
Expectations.
Having
is what we're setting.
expectations. That's what we're talking about, right?
Setting expectations. Here.
Yes, having expectations. Your expectations towards your children, towards your pair. I mean, your partner. That's that's the most common one, right? Let's have.
So let's shed some love and respect on the topic.
Yes, please bring her on. Our motivator, here she is. Very good morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. How are
Murshidah.
you?
You like how I did that? Let's shed some love and respect on the topic.
I love that. That's why I was smiling. Yes. Yeah, and let's talk about having expectations,
Yes,
right? And
please.
why love and respect is linked to this.
Right.
Now, a lot of times people have expectations of other people. There are different types of expectations, the realistic one and the unrealistic one.
Right.
And when we talk about expectation, we're not talking about standards, or, you know, when two people go into an agreement and they are working on certain standards, that is like, you know, it's part of integrity for you to follow those standards, you know. Expectations come when, you know, it's not communicated, it is something that is within the person, and then it's just, you know, they expect the other person to fulfill certain of their needs without actually communicating, and when that person does not fulfill those needs, you know, they have that feeling of anger, of insecurity and frustration, and they feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders because the other person did not fulfill their needs, right? So this is what the expectations that we are talking about.
Nice.
And why do we all have expectations?
Right.
Now this topic is actually linked to the last topic that I talked about on let's stop the blame game, okay? Because everybody's like blaming each other, and this is been incorporated into a lot into our culture through, you know, years and years of conditioning. So we addressed about how blaming actually is dangerous to the growth and development of a society, right? So now when we talk about blame, we link it to expectations, having expectations, and when people normally, when their expectations are not met, automatically they will start blaming, right? So let's address this topic of expectations, right? Why do people have expectations?
Okay, Murshidah, before you carry on, we have a caller who's calling this morning. I wonder if he's going to talk about the topic now. Harry, remember, we're talking about expectations.
Not banana leaf.
Morning, Harry.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
We're good. So, what do you have to say today?
Yes, please share.
People should set for share with practical. We cannot for that we cannot or fulfill our life. So
Okay.
must be some kind of community. So we certain expectation we cannot something that is part of our human. So it is important that to realizing tension.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Harry. Although we couldn't really hear you completely,
But I'm sure
I think
it's
you
a
had a very
point.
good opinion.
Exactly. Such a
I hate
beast,
saying
man.
that. But anyway,
Yes.
yeah. Well, hopefully you can call us back or send us a message on Facebook. That way we can read it clearly. Our Facebook page
That's a good
is
suggestion.
facebook.com/hello12.
Should.
Yeah.
So,
So continuing on why people have expectations. Number one is one of the is like there's also this thing about fear. You know, fear of change. So sometimes when they have a fear of change for, you know, a certain situation in their lives, they will have certain expectations of other people.
Right.
That's one. And the other thing is, of course, ulterior motives. Something that people want to fulfill their own personal needs, so they expect others to follow their needs and their opinions. And this is something that all of us, you know, we see things from these two eyes and our own experience, our own knowledge, and what we want for ourselves. And when other people do not meet those needs, and sometimes that's when we get upset and we start blaming the other person. And this one I would like to address is because it's very common with parents, especially when dealing with children, and they say, oh, I have certain expectations of you, I'm disappointed in you. And when we instill this in the family culture, for example, to have expectations without communication, about communicating with the other person's point of view, whether they can fulfill those expectations or not, or whether it is in line with their own personal expectations of the child, and that is when you get, you know, a lot of broken relationships or some frustration within relationships, like no matter what I do, I can never meet that person's need. I'll never be pleased with that. And research has also shown that children who grow up in this kind of environment where they have to live up to their parents' expectations all the time never outgrow that expectation. They all through their lives they will be very stressed, they'll be frustrated, and they never seem to get onto their destinations because nothing seems to be good enough even for them, because unconsciously they still hear the mommy's voice or the daddy's voice.
Such a pity.
No, we saw that my way or the highway slide.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I think we can translate that and look at how we perceive our leaders to be, because we elect them, so we have expectations for them. Let's discuss this.
Oh, let's
when
go
you
there.
vote for someone, we got expectations for that person, right?
Okay.
And we all remember how Obama got voted by the whole country, and then somehow he didn't really.
Did he? Did you see that? I think there was a posting that said that. You know, now that you elected me, when he said, then you elected me, I expect you to hold us accountable for anything, right? Yeah. So I think, you know, if you communicate something upfront, I believe that is, you know, something that is agreed between two parties. The expectations that we're talking about, those unrealistic expectations where sometimes the boss says, okay, you know, you will get a certain profit sharing about this time and this time, you know, but whenever the person does something, you know, at the end, and it's for example, the needs are met, and then after that it goes around and say, oh, but you didn't fulfill this, I can't give you that kind of bonus. So that kind is, so that kind of thing is like, look, what expectations are you, you know, referring to here, you know, to fulfill certain needs.
So that's what we call the legitimate expectation. All right. So
okay, let's come back to talk about the relationship circle, because I think that's the less political thing to do.
Exactly. So let me do it. So what does this mean to our society? And perhaps what's the root cause for all this?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's when we have expectations, it's always coming in from well, you know, like I said just now, standards, and when you are agreed on certain kind of relationships, you know, like both of you, okay, we agree, we're going to do this and that. But in terms of relationships, what is the root cause of this is when you are seeing things from the ego perspective, where you know, you want to see things like, okay, I want him or I want her to fulfill certain needs so that it can fulfill my needs, you know, and the focus is more on the me rather than in the we. So when we focus only on the me, that is when, you know, you get a lot of anger going around, you get a lot of frustration in the relationships. And how many breakups do you know that is based on, oh, you know, the expectations are not met. At the end of the day, they say, oh, he didn't fulfill this, he never did this for me, you know, I always do this and that didn't happen. Or, you know, I expect the wife to do this, but you know, she never does. I come home, the house is messy. So it's all this kind of thing, expectations that was not fulfilled, not agreed upon in the beginning, and people always seeing things from their own perspective without understanding the other person's perspective and where the other person is coming from. Right?
Okay, Murshidah, we got a call from Seremban. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Ding, ding.
We can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Yes, what do you have for us today?
Okay, it's about the expectation, right?
Right.
Okay, for me, I will just look for the individual side. Okay, so for the individual, expectation is good.
Okay.
Means for you to progress in your life, to have what you want in your life, you need expectations. Then only you can succeed in your life. Okay, but if you want to have expectation toward others, okay, that is something different lah. Okay, you have to accept them as what they are. Okay, and then you try to improve them with how you brought up or with how you come up in your life.
Okay.
So that is my stand lah. So expectation is very important. It's not as what you all showed just now in the TV that it hurts, you know, because people need to be hurt so that they can learn from what the mistakes that they've done.
Strong women.
I like that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Nice
Been listening to
you
Kelly
all.
Clarkson, obviously.
Thank you, Shamila, for that input.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's right. And you know what Shamila said just now, it is a perspective as well, right? How you perceive the term expectations. Now, expectations, like I agree with what she said, you should have expectations of yourself. And when you put on a higher clear benchmark. That is how you improve yourself. Now, having expectations of other people, what I'm saying is there are the realistic and the unrealistic ones, and the ones that I'm talking about are the ones that can actually be detrimental to a relationship. Right. And I believe in non-punishment, I believe in empowerment, and I also believe in living by examples. Because sometimes when you put a person down, let's say you have certain expectations, put a person down and you criticize the person, and then saying that, you know, it is something for your sake and to improve yourself. Research has also shown that, you know, it goes against fundamental human needs, and that is when broken relationships happen, or people become hardened. You know, they become hardened, and then it will come out through their work, through their finances, sometimes in their relationships with their children. So I always recommend empowerment, set an example, and if possible, when we give feedback, we give with love and respect, because yes, we need to improve. I agree, we really need to improve. Every day is a self-improvement journey. So it's living by example, and also through empowerment, you know, directing people towards the right way.
I think the time for us asking the question is over, bro. Because the callers are, you know, flooding in. We've got another one from Ipoh. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did our Banana Leaf song wake you up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Muhammad. Yeah.
Hi, Muhammad.
No.
I would like to give my opinion regarding the expectation.
All right.
So when someone makes expect on something, it must be realistic.
Okay.
So it is important in realizing a certain work that we have intent to achieve it.
Okay.
So in my point of view, that when people, we must be responsible to the expectation.
Yes.
We cannot just expect something that it cannot be practical to achieve it.
Right.
So in the sense that I believe that if we must be responsible to ensure that our expectation is not something that is not really realistic.
Yeah.
So in the sense that it can be done.
Right.
For example, in politics, we cannot just campaign that something can be something we can promise everything. Whereas the thing of the we expect cannot be achieved in our life. So I mean that when we expect, it must be responsible.
Okay.
It must be realistic to be done. So,
fair enough.
So it is important in keeping up our promise to be done.
Okay.
So,
Thank
so
you.
I think our aspect must be realistic, must be practical, must be pragmatic.
All right.
So that it can be fulfilled in our community.
All right.
So that is my point, Mr. Terence.
Thank you, Muhammad. I kind of smelt the politics coming there. Coming. Yes, he's right. Because, you know, again, going back to Obama, when he was elected, he was the messiah, supposed to save the entire American economy. But, you know, that's kind of too much expectations to be placed on a person.
Exactly.
So, weathering expectations to
How would
reality.
you feel you were in Obama's position? You know,
Oh,
sometimes
man.
we all have dreams and all that. We want to achieve something, and then after that, people say, "Okay, you go do it," and they look at you, right? And then, you know, somehow it was not met. So sometimes expectations, you need to manage them as well.
Okay, now I know this might be impossible, right? But in 30 seconds, can you tell us how can we stop this, you know, vicious cycle of having expectations from others?
Okay.
And what if it doesn't stop?
Yeah. So again, you focus on what is it that you really want for yourself, instead of hoping other people to fulfill your needs. When you place power in other people, do you realize how weak? You know, sometimes you feel weak, you feel helpless, and that causes stress. And I would recommend always to accept what is. Things that happen, it is just is. What can we do to improve it? If it's a negative situation, if it's a positive situation, you know, how can we make it elevate or do something even better? And remember to always be grateful in any situation. When there's no gratitude within, that is when we say, this one is person's problem, this one is person's problem. I expect everybody to be like this and that or the other, right? So be grateful every day of your life, no matter how difficult things are. There's always people worse off than us, and there's always things to be grateful for.
Thank you very much, Murshidah.
Oh,
She brought the love and respect.
yeah, man.
Yes,
and
thank
she's
you.
trying to catch a breath.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well done.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Spread the
Thanks for having
love
me, guys.
across in 30 seconds. Cool.